What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Funded Trader episode. So in this episode, we're going to be going over Bas's story. Talk us through this position.
I don't like to take very high risk trades.
This is what I mean. Sometimes they do just drop out like this. That's the beauty of it. I'm incredibly proud of Bas's growth because it would have been so easy for him to crumble, but he overcame it from lots of important reasons.
5 years ago, I lost my mother from cancer. She told me on her deathbed, she asked me if I could take care for my sisters.
How have you coped with that responsibility?
From that day on, it was literally, I had no plan B.
He has an incredible journey and a story and is the pinnacle of someone who could have gone into a slippery slope of self-sabotage, but he overcame it with really practical things. Now you're going to learn it in this podcast.
How can I become financially secure that I can take care of my three sisters?
This person is very clear on their why. They know exactly what they need to do. A person of duty, a person of discipline.
To just keep going even when I don't feel like it. I've completed 75 hours, I think 4 times, and it's one of the biggest factors of my high discipline.
Bas is now a portfolio asset manager on our in-house fund. Massive congratulations. So many traders in this industry, they're not where they want to be because they lack the why. The clearer you are on why you want to do this, and you're doing it for sometimes bigger reasons than yourself, which Bas is, and you'll learn in his story, you realize why he's in the position that he is today, and I'm incredibly proud of the growth that he's made.
It's been one of the best journeys of my life.
To gain experience in the market, grateful to be in this position.
9 trades back to back gone, and then that shattered my confidence completely.
You really want to believe something.
There's been some highs, there's been some lows.
I wasn't good at maths, I failed it at college.
I wanted to be a full-time trader by the end of the year.
This is actually possible.
Trading.
All of that euphoric feeling.
You can't stop my trading.
It's just made me a much better trader overall.
Welcome back to another Inside the Mind podcast. Right, Bas. So before we get into your story, I would love to go through one of your bigger trades. Let's actually take a look at that because I know you banked quite a decent percentage on Aussie dollar. Talk us through this position.
Yeah, so it's very clear that on the daily we have this hook point that we met. Yes, very clear. So then when you go on the 4 hour.
So you was in here roughly, right?
Yes, exactly. It was also, if you draw the trend line, it was also a little bit of an override play. Yeah, from that there. So the override play. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, nice. So you was looking for the sell-off here, like either third touch or override. Yeah, nice.
Indeed, yeah. And we had the 4 hour retracing that 2 last candles at the ray line. On the 4 hour, you can see it.
Yeah, I see the idea. Yeah. Okay, so decent.
Then, yeah, then on the 1 hour. Yeah, you started to see the structure a little bit more. Also, a very good confluence was that it was below that little wick on the left.
Yes, so you're trading underneath here, right?
Yes, exactly.
Let's go in here roughly. What sort of time frame did you execute? Was it 15 or 5?
Yes, 15. Yes, on the retrace / pin bar after the third touch.
Okay, nice. So this was like the structure underneath that area, which is nice.
Yes, indeed.
So you was in roughly around here, is that right?
Yeah, next one there I entered with around 11 or 12 pip stop loss.
Okay, nice. What did you bank on this one in the end, roughly? Was it 20?
Yes, 20%.
Okay, nice. So you must have got out. Talk us through the emotions of this, right? Because I love the positioning, and I can see how from anyone watching, especially in Falcon, they'll see, correction into correction. From a risk point of view, where was you at situationally? Was you in profit that enabled you to take something that, slightly higher risk, not necessarily high risk, but because you're in a good value area?
Yeah, so it was slightly higher risk because of the size of the structure also. And but I was 3% in profit, so I could afford the trade. Yeah, and it dropped very nice. It was on a Friday also. And then an hour before swap, I actually manual closed it for 20%.
Okay, nice. Yeah, this was one of the bigger ones. So yeah, this is what I mean. Sometimes they do just drop out like this. That's the beauty of it, right? So
exactly, yes.
Yeah, very, very nice. So this was on the Friday that you manually closed. Let's just speed that up a little bit. Talk us through the emotions when you was going through that. When you saw that running at a decent percentage, you obviously knew that, right, I've hit the profit target, right? So I'm in a good position. How did that feel?
Very good. I was in a very good flow the whole weekend and very happy. But I reminded myself to not get too happy and not get complacent the week after and take losses, because I've heard the stories before of you and EB talking about that you can get a little bit too excited as well. So I try to stay, just stick to my rules, stick to the plan, and just get on with it and just focus on high quality. Because of course I was then 22% in profit, so I knew I could take better and high risk trades, but still I don't like to take very high risk trades, so I still take higher risk trades. I will take, but of course low risk trades are very much better.
Yeah, nice. Well, firstly, congrats. You're now a portfolio asset manager. So for those of you that don't know, Bass is now a portfolio asset manager on our in-house fund. Massive congratulations. Let's start there, Bass. You've been in Falcon how long now?
2 years now in May.
Nice. So talk us through your journey. You know, how did you come to Falcon? Was you trading before, or was this your first experience into trading?
So back in 5 years ago, unfortunately, I lost my mother from cancer.
Sorry,
we were very close. I have 3 younger sisters, and I remember she told me on her deathbed, she asked me if I could take care for my sisters. But at the time then, it didn't really came to me like, okay, I will take care of them, but I didn't really understand what she meant. And 6 months later, I literally wake up in the middle of the night from a nightmare that we had that conversation again. And I started looking to ways, how can I become financially secure, that I can take care of my 3 sisters. And it started then first I did dropshipping, but that wasn't really my thing. Then so I started self-development straight away. So at age 21, I started reading books, listening to podcasts, working on my mind, doing things like 75 Hard, for those who know, which is, by the way, I've completed 75 Hard, I think, 4 times, and it's one of the biggest factors of my high discipline. So I highly recommend it to everyone. And so then it started, but then when I was 3 years in self-development, I was very active on Instagram. And then my old in real life friends that I didn't see for 2-3 years, shout out to Dylan, Enzo, and Jerry, they messaged me and they noticed I was in self-development just like them. And then they introduced me to trading. And I started immediately and never stopped. That's how I started.
Love that. Well, very, very, very powerful story. And thanks you for sharing that as well. You know, that I can imagine that. I could only imagine how tough that would have been. And, you know, your why to look after your sisters, I can imagine, is very, very strong. And so it's a lot of responsibility. How have you coped with that responsibility?
So from that day on, it was literally, I had no plan B. And my biggest focus in life now is I have to be in a position that my sisters can do what they want. I can help them build what they want, and I can give them the experience that they want. And that's my main focus. All the noise is, I sacrifice so many things just for that. So it gives me so much energy and fire to just keep going, even when I don't feel like it. Always, I have that in the back of my mind, that I promised my mom I will take care of them, and I will do that without anything that comes in the way.
I have no doubt that you will. And that fire, I can see it. I can see it in you. You know, you've grown tremendously. And I think a big part of that is you can't stop someone with a vision like that, with a fire like that, when you know you have a duty. So massive respect for taking on that responsibility. It's not easy. And you're already doing them proud, seriously. So give yourself a pat on the back for that, for the success you achieved so far. It wasn't a smooth ride in your funding. So let's get into that, because there's so many lessons that people in the community, I mean, you've seen the stats of people on external funds. They're absolutely diabolical. They're not great from so many emotions. How did you do? What was the big part of your journey with funding, and what happened when you actually passed? Talk us through that, the self-sabotage.
Yeah. So in the start, I talked about my 3 in real life friends. They have been trading, I think, 2 years prior than me, so 2 years longer. Especially in the start, I didn't expect I was going to be the second one of the four of us that is going to pass the assessment. So I had a lot of, like you mentioned, self-sabotage and doubts that I deserved, if I even deserved it. But it actually just come back because if I didn't have them so close to me in my real life, I probably wouldn't even feel that. So when I started noticing that pattern, I just did the exercises of Rewired again. But I literally just told myself every morning, I do deserve this. I've been guiding self-discipline and sacrificing so many things for the last 5-6 years. And literally just every day, 3 times a day, I told myself I deserve it. And that's literally how I overcame that self-sabotage and doubt.
Powerful. I can see it in your equity curve, right? You can see it in your equity curve as it dips down, right? And that is where the lack of self-worth can creep in. It just goes to show you can be the most technically switched on trader out there. You can have all the analysis down, but nothing is going to protect you from your own mind unless you do the work. And you're someone who is already disciplined, right? You mentioned about 75-day hard. You can see how you can be disciplined in the gym and you can be disciplined from like a fitness point of view. It still doesn't change the fact that you can still suffer with self-doubt. You know, when you see these people in the gym like shredded, ripped up, like, and I've met many of them in incredible shape, but still have a lot of issues in their head. Like they either don't think they're big enough, or they actually suffer with a lot of confidence. But if you used to look at them, you'd be like, you're in incredible shape. Exactly. How is it that you're suffering? But yet we all go through our own demons. We all go through our own things. And what you've done could go over someone's head, but you told yourself, like, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, that's what that is every single day. When did you actually feel the compound of that when you went through the Rewired self-image correction of you actually really starting to, was there a moment where you actually felt it, where like, oh no, I do deserve this?
Yeah, exactly. Like 2-3 weeks in, I started really feeling and the emotion and thoughts that I then had during the day was like, you do deserve this. Because especially like my weekly reflection and my Q1 reflection and then my end of the year reflection. And then I took my journals from like 2019 because I talked about 75 hard. So Andy Frisella is the guy of 75 hard. He is the guy I started listening to as self-development. And he actually teaches me daily goals 3 years prior I joined Falcon.
Nice.
So I was already doing them for 3 years. And it's like you mentioned many times, daily goals is one of the most effective things to increase your confidence, because I took that journal from 2018 and I noticed how many days I failed to do my goals. But then the last 3 years, I barely failed any day. So that just showed me like, I do deserve this. I've grown so much. I sacrificed so many things. And I just, it's self-image, like you say, and identity, just that.
That's exactly what more traders need to do, because what you've done there is that you actually saw the deliberateness of what you've done. How could you not have confidence when you look at yourself and go,
exactly,
would the average person do this every single day without fail? No, they wouldn't. Only a strong-minded person that is intentionally done that every single day would be deserving of this type of success. So I'm glad you've gone through that tough period, because it's made you stronger. Like, I can sense it within you that you feel like you're in the right place. Like you're deserving of it. You're now a portfolio asset manager. How does it feel getting to the next stage in terms of your composure? Are you still telling yourself and going through things like Rewired on a regular basis? Like, what is your process of that, out of curiosity? Because listen, we've got a lot of traders that go through Rewired. You've probably seen the correlation of traders that are funded tend to have gone through the program for a very key reason, as you've seen from yourself. Like, your personal situation is literally one of the pinnacles of that. Like, you can know your technicals, but you can mess it up if you don't feel deserving of that. Is there a process that you've gone through the Rewired material? Do you do it like monthly, bi-monthly?
Yeah, so in 2022, I did Rewired every month. I always did in the order, like this 3-step process. So just listen the first month, the second month with notes, the third month I reflected. But I did the exercises every month. And also something I want to mention, it's actually because of EB that I do this. So like if we take it back to the self-doubt, like you give the exercise of tearing up the paper and throwing it away.
Yes.
What EB mentioned in a webinar of like I wrote down. I am so my emotions that I had and my thoughts were I am not worthy of success. I took the paper and I literally burned it. I watched the word burn, and that if I have any emotions or negative thinking, just do that and you will feel completely different. Trust me.
Yeah, you just leaked a little bit of Rewired 2.0.
Oh. I'm sorry.
I love it. I think that's really, really awesome. It's another technique, right? There's many of them, screwing up the paper, the burning, and everybody works different, right? So everyone has elements that they will react to. Some people, they'll screw up the paper. They'll get a very strong emotion of it will just go. Some people will visualize. I mean, this is very Tony Robbins, but some people will visualize literally them, like, throwing their problems to the sun and imagine it just like disintegrating. But there's something special about if you're writing something and you literally burn that paper, as you just said, right? And you burn the paper, it almost like gets rid of a relief of that's gone. That doesn't exist for me anymore. It's not within my identity. It's crazy how much pressure it takes off. So that's beautiful. I'm glad you've gone through that. You seem so much more confident, Bess.
Yeah, for sure. I think just the 5 years in self-development, then trading, the struggles, the sacrifice, like you mentioned, looking at my old journals. It's just like if you can really see, that's why I will never throw them away. If you can really see where you came from, how much you actually grown, it's insane. It's just like in 5 years, I can imagine 5 years from now, then I'm 31, how I'm gonna be like. It's crazy to think about.
Crazy amount of progress. Talk to us about this, because this is really important. You mentioned about your journey that you've got people in Falcon that you're friends, from Belgium that you spoke to, and some of them been in longer than you. This is not an uncommon process where someone might invite someone into Falcon, and the person they invited came into Falcon and they might have been there themselves for a couple of years, maybe not succeeded at the level they want yet. And within half a year or 1 year, the person they invited in has now succeeded. This is the key part in which your journey there, you cannot compare each individual and go, this person's been here for 8 months, this person's been here for 12 months. Therefore, the person who's been here for 12 months, they feel more deserving of success. The market doesn't care. It's very unforgiving. It's just, it will only reward the person who has done the work and is at that level, and everyone learns different. So it's a waste of energy for you to compare yourself to any of them or anyone else in Falcon. There could be someone that comes into Falcon tomorrow and they achieve what you've achieved right now in 50% of the time. Like, you just don't know, but it doesn't matter. Like, you've arrived at your level right now. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And I think that's a really, really great message. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because if you like if there was a person that can achieve probably like what I did in 50% of the time, you never know what that person has been through in his prior Falcon. Maybe that person has been working on his mind for 8 years.
Exactly.
And he can think in probabilities like a knip of a finger. So it's like comparison is the thief of all joy, like they say. It's really actually really, really true.
Yeah, and I'm glad you've experienced it. There's one thing saying these things, but now you've seen it for yourself. I think that's incredible inspiration for the rest of the community to just go, do you know what? From Bass's story, forget who I'm comparing myself to. It's actually such a waste of time. All you need to do is just go, what is the next level for me in this quarter? And then the next quarter, what's the next level? As long as you feel good about where you're at and you're on the right path, who cares? It's going to happen for you. There's some people right now will compare themselves, whether they're in Falcon or someone in like a different place or someone they've seen online, and they will compare themselves to where they're at, not realizing that person online that they know nothing about, they just see a highlight reel, they might be comparing themselves to someone who gives up in a year from now.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't care, would you? In a year from now, if you could forecast and see, right, in a year from now, they're going to give up on trading, would you really then care that you see them with a Lambo? Like, you don't know what they're going through. That's why it's useless to focus on anyone else but yourself. Bass, talk to me through your experience of Falcon. You said you got a close group. What has been your experience in the community from, webinars, connecting with other people, meetups, etc.?
Yeah, so mind-blowing. I literally never experienced something like this before. It was like when I joined, it was like something I was the 3 years prior in my self-development journey, searching for my 3 years, all like-minded people with one goal, all very humble. Like when I reach out to someone, always a positive answers, always help when I need help, but especially to Jerry, Enzo, and Dylan, because we are very, very close in real life. So that makes it very, I think, because we talk about this a lot, not many people have an inner circle that is good, but I do, because Jerry, Enzo, and Dylan are very committed, disciplined. We do a lot of things together, but then not like drinking and not going to parties, but very productive things, exercising. We all have our strengths, we all have our shadows, but when we're together, it's such a good flow. And I think I'm not sure, 100% sure if I won't even be here today if they weren't in my circle, especially Jerry, because he helped me a lot when I had in the start technical questions. Like he teach me how to backtest. He teach me, he was 2 years in already. So especially big shout out to Jerry for because I wouldn't sit here without him for sure. But then like Q also, my monthly accountability partner. It's just, and I now in 2023 I have a goal to do a Zoom with one person each month from the community. So I just reach out, we do a chat, then maybe a second chat. And it's very good to see that you can connect with people all over the world. They're all on the same vision, all on the same mission, all very humble, disciplined, and we can all learn from each other for sure.
Love that. I'm so glad that you've got your inner circle and you've been able to, of course, have an accountability partner as well. All these things are important. But what really sticks out, which hopefully you guys can see. So for those of you that are watching that are maybe not in Falcon, it's a very common occurrence that people will go above and beyond. As a great example, you've got that initiative that you'll jump on with someone. I mean, no one's told you to do that. You've done it off your own back. Mm-hmm. That comes from the ethos is what Falcon stands for. You've experienced it yourself, someone helping you. And I guess it's just an incredible environment to be in when you know other people are rooting for me to succeed and they have no financial gain, whether I succeed or not.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
They just do it because they want everyone to win. And that's the beauty of what we've got here, that your success doesn't take from anyone else. We all succeed and we level up and we move forward. And as long as people are progressing, I don't care. At the end of the year, of course, we've got Dubai territory. At the end of the year, I don't care if there's 200 traders on 6 figures and then lots of people on 7 figures, and there might be someone who's just broken through to consistency. It's a waste of their time to compare themselves to someone who's trading 500k. They're consistent. They would look at that and go, "Oh, I wish I was in Dubai." There's people losing 10% a month will be like, "I wish I was consistent." There's always going to be a layer. And as long as you focus on where you're at, we're going to be in a good position come the end of the year. We're fully on track. I mean, you're part of that success for Q2. Sure. So thank you for sticking to everything that you needed to do with your discipline.
Thank you for your guidance and mentorship for sure, mate. This wouldn't have been possible without hearing your voice every Sunday and Wednesday. So I really appreciate you.
No, you're very welcome. It's been a pleasure, a breath of fresh air to teach people like yourself that are committed and can take feedback on board, not take things personally, and just understand, it comes from a good place. That myself, Abdu, Ibi, we're never just going to recommend something for the sake of it. Like, we want you to do well and we're going to give you the right advice. It's not always the most attractive, and we understand that. However, I'm sure you've seen as well in the industry over the past, 4 or 5 years, that all the gimmicks, they're fizzling out. Like, we will give the right message and sometimes it will go through one ear and out the other and people won't like it because it's the truth, right? No one wants to focus on their inner self. They just want us to tell them, this is how you make money, not realizing that you'll never keep it anyway. These people that are banking 15, 20% by fluke and they don't feel worthy of it. A similar situation that you was in. They don't have the tools and the resources to overcome it, but you've done that. I'm sure now, feeling that familiar, imagine how many traders out there that do feel that insecurity, that are not working on it. What would be your advice to them that have that feeling of, their technicals are good enough, they make returns, but deep down, they look at themselves in the mirror and just don't feel good enough or don't feel worthy to succeed? Is there any little tips you could give them from what you've experienced?
Yeah, so first of all, daily goals. Like, if you do your daily goals every day, your confidence will skyrocket 100%. It's you can't hide it. Then I would say nutrition, exercise, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So don't just go like, oh, I'm disciplined in trading, but then fail at dieting, fail at delaying instant gratification. Like, don't rely on motivation, but rely on discipline. And also, this is something I've got from Andy Frisella again. Like, sometimes I know your ego can be too big, but sometimes you have to feed your ego a little bit and take pride in that you are grinding and doing everything that you need to do and others aren't. So I would say just daily goals for sure, 100%. That's on the top for me. Reflecting on your past and learn from your mistakes.
Love that. Simple formula, but success is simple. And I think just what you said there just sums up. Daily goals builds the confidence, which is great. And the ego part that you touched on, which I think it could go over people's heads, which I want to clarify, is that people misinterpret ego a lot. When we think ego, leave your ego at the door. What we mean is just, don't come in with a closed mindset where you think you've made it, and you become unteachable. But you pumping yourself up and having a little bit of an ego within yourself, it's about keeping it under control. It doesn't mean be rude to people. That doesn't mean put other people's down, which like you don't yourself. It's just that internal sense of pride. And you touched on it. I think that's the key word right there. You got to have pride in yourself, that you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I done this every single day and I'm deserving of success. And a lot of people, they're afraid to do that. They're afraid to just tell themselves, you got to compare. This is when comparison is actually good. Most people will do, there'll be people in the community right now, Bas, that have done daily goals for 200 days in a row, and they won't believe in themselves. That is when comparison is good. You got to look at yourself and go, who else do you know in the world that does that every day for 200 days straight?
Not many people.
99% of the population do nothing. Yeah. And that's where your ego can come in handy, where you can go, I am different.
Exactly.
I will succeed is because I am the 1%, because I'm doing the very thing that most people will not do. And that's where I think it comes into play. So I'm glad you got it under control, which is very, very important as you scale up. What's the next level for you, Bas, in terms of funding? When you scale up, where will you be?
Yeah, so the goal is to at least scale up 2 times more, and then I will consider at least go half time on my job, because I do like my job, but it takes a lot of time. But I have the freedom to be on my phone, etc. So for sure, I will first go half time to experience a little bit more freedom, and then see what I do with my extra time. And I will actually probably start something in the fitness area before I go full time, that I already have another thing to focus on as a side business for sure. But I think 2 times more scaling up, and I will for sure consider going half time for sure.
Nice. Would that 2 doubles be close to your golden number?
Yeah, for sure. But I don't want to go full time in one time, because I've heard you talk and TB and all talk a lot about the fact that, we are praising this go full time, but then you're full time and then you have all this free time, and then you can maybe look at the charts way more, 4 trades, and I don't want that. So I will experience
100%.
a little bit more freedom first, and
100%. This is another message. I'm glad you brought that up. This is another message to anyone else that are listening out there, is that the industry will tell you, it will pump you up about go full time without really understanding. Listen, you can go full time, but I know humans, so do you, and you've seen people's behavior. You know your own behavior. You give the average person too much free time, they will fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
They will. And so this notion of obsessing over full-time trading and just doing nothing all day, you will actually probably lose more money, which is why you need a game plan. You mentioned about fitness, which I think is spot on. And I do believe that transition from, your job to part-time a little bit, half-time, and then transition slowly into that and still be occupied by something else that keeps discipline, routine, morning and evening.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it will just be chaos. And sometimes people are better off working. Like if you don't like your job, you don't necessarily have to quit for the sake of quitting. Go and find something you do enjoy. Like imagine being able to do something imagine there's a job you've always wanted to do, but it just doesn't pay that well. And part of your mind thinks, I'm really passionate about it, but I just don't really want to do it because it doesn't give me enough money. Where you could be trading 400K where you're not relying on the money because you're making all of your money from trading. You're making the sum that you want to make. And you might, for example, want to work in, I don't know, like you might want to work for a music label, for example, but for whatever reason, the role is not that much money. You can then go and do that part-time as a passion, as a hobby, and decide. You got choices. That's what I love about what we do, is that you have the choice to go, right, I'm trading 400K. I've got my expenses covered for a whole year. What can I go and do and just apply for something just to keep me busy? And then the funny thing is, you're not doing it for money. You end up making more money in the part-time role. You'll find something that generates more money anyway because you're not desperate for it, because you know you're covered. And that's the beauty of it.
And that's also something Andrew Sella talks about. If you're really passionate about your business, you will succeed and grow it. And I think a lot of businesses fail because they start with the main goal as, I have to make millions, and then they don't succeed.
Exactly. That's why you see businesses, they're not around after a year.
Yeah.
You see these organizations, they're not around after 2 years, let alone 3 years, 4, like we're at 6.5. There's a reason why we're here. There's a reason why we're doing what we're doing. We got phenomenal, formidable infrastructure that is just, we're talking about, we had a team call earlier, Bass, and we're talking about 10, 15, 20-year plans. It's turned into such a crazy project organically, and we're just going to keep reinvesting into the project, which we have done from day one. This is why we're here, right? It's why we have a fund. It's why we have what we have, and we're just going to carry on doing that. And that is why I love being in the position that I'm in, because I was full-time trading way before this. I didn't need to do this. I've done this because I love seeing people do well, and to be able to create this space for people where you're looked after you're making money. You know what to do with it after. I'm so proud of what we've achieved, and it's a pleasure to have people like yourself that stayed loyal, stay committed. So I appreciate it. This project wouldn't be where it is without people like yourself, Jerry, Q, all the people that you mentioned, Dylan, like committed people. There's so many in the community makes it what it is.
For sure. And I want to mention one more tweak that I actually came about because of Rewired. So the last year, one of my daily goals is I reflect on 3 of my 1% tweaks in Notion. So like when you do an SMB, mid-week, performance webinar, you name it, I have my Notion open with 1% tweaks. I put them in there, my 1% tweaks, but let me give you an example. If you say something like, you have to be your own motivator, I write it down in Notion. I have to be my own motivator. When I'm reflecting on that 1% tweak, I say it to myself. So that's something, and that's actually comes back to self-image from Rewired and affirmations, that you have to affirm it to yourself. So when you or Ibi or Abdu or someone else say some things that resonates with me, I write it down in the form of that I'm saying it to myself. And then when my daily goal is reflect on that tweak, I say it to myself.
Nice. So you're literally programming it in deliberately until it just becomes part of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad you've taken that away from Rewired. That's the beauty of it. You can literally, like, think about it from there. You've gone through Rewired many times. You've got a process for it. I can see the connection that is helping out. I'm excited to see come the end of the year and then a year from then how you're going to revisit certain modules and in a different unit of time. Like when you're trading even 250K and you've hit, $250,000 as a milestone, there'll be something else. There might be other demons that come up, other pressure, other things, but you trust yourself that you can overcome it. And I think that's the beauty of it. I'm looking forward to seeing those breakthroughs in your journey.
Yeah, me too. But one more question for you. Like, for example, so now I'm trading 40K instead of 10. My personal account was also around 10, so it's the first time it's a little bit bigger.
Nice.
So how do I handle, like, let's say, for example, I have another trade and it's again a big winner of 20%. What would you recommend as best tweaks or to do when you experience, like when you open MetaTrader and you see 6,000 profit or 4,000 for the first time? How did you manage and overcame that feeling of like, oh yeah, getting too excited?
This is a really, really good question. Now, there's one part of this which it is impossible to overcome it fully because you're going to experience the emotion. So I'm really big on because I went through this, right? And what helped me was not trying to overcome this emotion of I'm just going to be fine with it. It was more embracing the fact that I'm okay with the fact that it is sparking a bit of emotion. Why wouldn't it? You're seeing profit go up sometimes 3K in a day, and instantly that would have normally taken me a whole month. And I've just done it in one trade, and it might have been in 14 hours. I think the biggest thing that helped me was just accepting the fact that it's okay to have a little bit of emotion, and you have to trust yourself that you will get used to it. And the reason why I know that you'll get used to it is because I've experienced it and I've done it. Think about the person that, buys a Ferrari, for example, and on the first couple of days, they wake up and they look at that Ferrari. They think, as soon as they wake up, they're like, oh yeah, I've got my Ferrari. I've had it for 2 days. The third day they wake up, they're like, I need to go and see my Ferrari, because they'll go, you've got that excitement. And on the fourth day, it might happen on the second day, the novelty will wear off, where you'll wake up and you'll just go, oh yeah, you'll just make your coffee and things will change. Yeah. So the same experience like of something of a Ferrari or a 2-3 million pound house, it wears off very quickly. My advice is to you is to just embrace the fact that those emotions that you experience with those bigger profits are totally normal. But what's really going to kick in is actually understanding that and go, I know this is going to feel normal. And just that thought alone of, I'm looking forward to the point in which that when I see 4K, 6K, 10K of running profit, I deserve it. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And that's one of the most powerful phrases I always tell myself, no matter what milestone I've broken through, Bas, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Because what that says on a subconscious level is every single decision I've made up until this point is a justification for why I'm making this type of money, is a justification as to why I'm in this position. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. It's actually a very powerful hack for you to tell yourself, when you get to the next level as well, and you bank maybe 10K in a trade and it'll be your first 10K, for example, you tell yourself, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Because what it does is it reinforces daily goals every single day. Like you show up every single day. Of course, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, because you didn't just randomly fluke this. Like you've been doing it every single day. And that is a little phrase for me. It's helped me tremendously. I know it'll help you as well.
Nice. Thank you for that.
No, you're very welcome. Bas, last words for the community. Any kind of plans that you want to share from now until the end of the year for this quarter as well? What's the next focus for you? And would there be any bit of advice from someone who's maybe thinking about going through funding, thinking about getting into Rewired, and any tips that you would want to share?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, embrace the discomfort and emotions you are going to have, for sure. Your daily goals should be non-negotiable every day, even if you have to sacrifice a little bit of sleep or what. Just your daily goals should be done no matter what. Don't rely on motivation, but rely on discipline, and take pride in doing that discipline, and take pride in doing things other people aren't willing to do, to give that ego a little bit of a boost. But of course, like you mentioned, don't become rude or too cocky, and just stay humble, teachable, and learn from your mistakes, I would say. And I would highly recommend everyone, because I take it back to 75 Hearts. This is the biggest factor that has built my discipline. And I would recommend everyone at least complete it one time. Especially if you lack discipline, especially then you should really do. Maybe like monk month, we can do something like that with the whole community. That will be very epic.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Well, we've got Monk Mode Part 2 coming up in June. So we're going to spice that up a little bit, and we may be able to do a bit of blend of things that are in 75 Day Hard as well. So this is going to be a very, very good blend. But honestly, Bas, I'm very proud of you, my friend.
Thank you.
It takes a lot to overcome what you've overcome. You've gone through it for a reason. This is the universe tested you, and you prevailed. So you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think that's something that I really want you to carry through. And I'm sure your family are very proud of you, and you've stepped up, and you should take a lot of confidence from that there's most people out in the world that would crumble, but you haven't, and you've only got stronger.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And again, thank you for your mentorship and making this possible for us. So big shout out to you and the coaches and the team.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you for your time. This podcast has been absolutely epic, and I hope this has been very inspiring for you guys and girls to really take away the small little details There's a common pattern in people that succeed, and it's not always going to be a smooth ride. Like Bass's journey wasn't a smooth ride, but he overcome it, and that's what life is about. So take what you can from it, apply it to your daily life and your daily goals, as Bass has mentioned time and time again. See how conscious it is. That's because it's ingrained within him, and it's that discipline that is carrying him through. And I know that's the reason why you're going to hit some seriously big levels, and we got a lot to achieve come the end of the year. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Bass. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too, mate.